Anthem is a good game, don't get me wrong, but it really doesn't live up to the hype that it's had. For me personally, I've got a list of different things that are either wrong with the game or that I just feel shouldn't be the way they are. I'm going to start with the fact that Xbox users got 10 hours of a trial a week before the release due to EA Access. PC users also got the same thing unless you're subscribed to the really expensive, I think it's £90 a year, subscription, which is Origin Premier. You get the full game from today. So you basically get the game a week before it's supposed to be launched. Before we get into this any further, I have the Legion of Dawn edition. I'm going to play a lot of the game. This isn't a rant or anything. The game's only just been released, so there's going to be updates with bug fixes and things like that. The devs were really active during the demos, which is amazing, so it shows there's hope for all of these problems to be fixed. I'm going to start with the fact that the missions don't always complete. I've played 6 hours of my 10-hour trial, and a couple of times me and Connor had to go back through the missions because they wouldn't trigger for one of us. Say it was the mission called Hidden Depths, it would complete for Connor upon finishing the mission, but it wouldn't trigger for me, so we'd have to go back and do it all over again. Next up, this isn't a massive thing, but in Fort Tarsis, my javelin has duplicated itself, so there's always one on the stand facing forward, and then when I go onto the platform ready to jump in, there's another one on top of that javelin that spins round and opens up. This didn't happen during the demos, so I don't know why it's in the full release. The full release is supposed to be 6 weeks more bug fixes, and it should be stable. Even though it's early access, it's still the full game. Next up, the game lacks the ability to inspect gear, which for me makes the social hub, which is the launch bay, completely pointless. When you go into a social hub or a social space, you want to see what other people are using. If you go in there and there's someone that's level 30, max level, you're going to want to see the gear they have. They could have some really awesome legendaries. But for some reason, the devs have decided not to put it in at launch. They've spoken about it before. They said they might add it in the future. I really hope they do, because not only will you get to inspect some awesome gear when people reach level 30 and get legendaries, it could also give you some insight as to what is good to use for your javelin, like what's a good build. Next up, the Stronghold, which worked perfect in the demos, doesn't work in the full release of the game. The Tyrant Mine is the first one that we unlocked, and when you begin the expedition, like when you launch into the Stronghold, you can't actually do anything. Me and Connor joined 2 different expeditions of the Stronghold, and both times there was apparently a player further ahead than us. It didn't teleport us to them, it didn't let us, all the doors were shut, we couldn't progress at all. We was just in this locked up sort of space, we couldn't do anything, there was no progress, so we just left it and carried on with the standard, the critical path, the main storyline. Interacting with some of the minerals bugged out for me. Sometimes there wouldn't be a prompt on screen, so I couldn't interact with them and get the chimeric compound and stuff like that. Other times I could hold X to interact, and one time it actually took 3 or 4 minutes for the minerals to pop out. In the 6 hours that me and Connor played, we are level 13 already. Everyone I've spoken to about this game thinks it's going to last a long time, there's going to be loads of content added in, there's going to be plenty of stuff to do. Being able to reach level 13 in 6 hours shows me that we're probably going to get a week or two's worth of gameplay, then we're going to have to wait for the different acts to be released. At level 13 we are getting rare items drop. They actually started at level 10 for those of you wondering, and I appreciate that the further you get into the game the longer it's going to take, but 6 hours to level 13, even if it increases a fair bit, I don't think it's going to take any longer than maybe 20 hours or something to get the other 17 levels. Maybe 24 hours game time. And for me, I can put that into this game in 2 or 3 days real time fairly easily, so therefore I'm not going to have as much playtime as those of you that work and stuff. You only get to come on for 4 hours a night or something. I'm going to be completing this pretty quick. I just hope that there's extra stuff, because they did say there's more stuff after the critical path. It doesn't unlock to level 30. That's why this video isn't a rant. I'm just explaining my side of why I think the game doesn't live up to its hype. Obviously there's a lot more I have to experience, but this is from the 6 hours I've played so far. So please don't leave in the comments saying, oh, you haven't played enough of it, there's going to be plenty more to do, blah blah blah. I know there probably will be, but this is from my experience of the trial. Missions are already becoming boring because they're just the same thing over and over again. You have to go and help some Arcanists do their job, you have to take out Scars, you have to take out Scorpions, you have to deliver Echoes, and then there's these other like secret sort of write-in things, you have to go and interact with them, then you defeat a couple of bosses, expedition done. It's just rinse and repeat with the missions. It feels like there's no variety for them at all. During the gameplay, leveling up the rep kind of thing with the different like factions, you unlock a thing called the Regulator Store, I think that's what it's called. It's actually just off the platform where your Javelin is in Fort Tarsis. I don't see any difference between that and the Vanity Store. The Vanity Store being where you can buy different things for your Javelin. It's basically like the store where you go and get microtransactions. You can use coin. If you don't have enough coin and you want an item, you can purchase shards, which is the microtransaction. But when I went to search the actual Xbox store, because you don't have like an option in game to buy the shards, it said there was no listings for my search. So I don't know if they've been enabled in the game yet. It might be something they release on launch day or even further down the line. But I didn't notice any difference. They were exactly the same items in the Regulator Store to what they are in the Vanity Store. Loading screens, there's just far too many of them in this game. When you go to different sections of an expedition, when you go back to Fort Tarsis, when you go to your forge, blah blah blah, there's just loading screen after loading screen, and some of them can take a couple of minutes. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is something that really annoys me, and that is the fact that everybody uses Storm. Yes, I know Storm is the elemental, yes I know Storm is very strong, but you've got to try other Javelins. You unlock them at levels 2, 8, 16 and 26. The majority of players by now will be level 8 if they've played a couple of hours, so you have 2 Javelins. Don't just stick to Storm because it's really strong. Don't just stick to Storm because it's got the floating ability, you don't have to be on the ground for too long. The lightning strike thing's overpowered as hell. Try something different. You're kind of going to need to. When you get to level 30 and you're doing Grandmaster, you can't just go in with a full lobby of Storms. You need communication. You need variety in your team. When it comes to Javelins, you're going to have to find a good mix, because they're going to be crazy, crazy hard. The enemy's damage and health is increased by 950%. Personally, I went with Ranger because Ranger just has a mix of everything as a Javelin. Colossus is the tank. I tried using Colossus during the demo. Didn't really get on with it too well. I know they've made some changes in the full release, and I will try Colossus at some point. And Interceptor just didn't really do it for me. I'll give it another go when I unlock it, but it's going to be the last Javelin I unlock. I don't know why, just Ranger suits my playstyle the best. And that's going to do it. I don't want to drag this video on any longer than I already have. I just wanted to put my point across and let you guys know that I really don't think Anthem is living up to the hype it's had personally. There's obviously, like, it's the first day of release. There's obviously a lot more to come down the line. This is just kind of my first impressions, like the first gameplay review on it kind of thing. So that's going to do it for me. That's going to be the end of the video. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are if you've played it. If you haven't, are you looking forward to it that much? I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching.